I'm Dr. Jordin Wiggins, and this is the Pleasure Principles podcast. Join me on this journey where sex, science, and sensuality meet. Let's change the conversation around sex and pleasure together.
Do you ever feel insanely frustrated that you try and accommodate everyone? You give, you plan, you think about them, you consider them, but those around you don't grant you the same courtesy. Maybe they leave you out, cancel plans last minute, don't give you credit for your work at work. Maybe it feels like you give and give and give, but the people around you still seem to be irritated by you. You're the strong one, caring for everyone else, but no one seems to give you the same care, respect, text, check-ins, invites back. Do you ever feel confused that it is so hard to figure out what you want? That you can think of everyone else involved in a situation, but it is so hard to consider yourself? If most of these described you, then this episode of the Feminine Burnout Series is for you. If you are new to our podcast and just tuning in, I do recommend that you go back and start at episode 62. That's where we started the Feminine Burnout Series, talking about the woman who can't ask for help. For episode 62, 63, and 65, you're going to want to take a listen. You might want to let your partner listen to episode 64. We did a little interruption for a client-requested episode about how to talk to your man, or have me talk to your man about giving you more pleasure. So back to the Feminine Burnout Series. All of the things that I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, not knowing what you want, feeling frustrated, alone, being able to consider everyone else, think 10 steps ahead for everyone else, but not be able to consider your needs. My work kind of started here. Me understanding that the problem was bigger. The problem that I was fixing was bigger started here in my women's health clinic. Women who had been offered antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, women who seemed to have lost themselves. They knew that something was off. Their partners, those close to them, probably picked up on it a little bit, but they're also super women, so they're so good at faking. They're good at pretending to smile, pretending to laugh, and really not letting those around them know how hard it actually is inside. But they know something's off, and they don't have the words to describe it. When they try and talk about it, like I said, they're dismissed. It's, oh, you're busy and stressed at work, you have kids, you're getting older, maybe you're just depressed. But they know, there's this internal knowing that they know there's something more. They'll say things to me like, I used to be happy. I don't get it. I did everything right. I got the job. I'm making the money. My kids and partner are great, but something's off. I'm not as happy as I used to be. I'm not as happy as I should be. Or they'll describe it as being a bystander in their life. They don't feel happy. It's like life is happening around them, but they're removed from it. They're not engaging in it. They're not feeling the fullness of their life anymore. Even sex is ho-hum, or they're doing it to get through the motions. They don't feel happy. They're sad, lonely, anxious. So if this is you, you are not alone. Listen up. I'm going to tell you about Dawn. She's in her mid-40s. She has 2 young children and a stepson. She's successful at work, and so is her husband. They have the means and the freedom to do what they want, when they want, for the most part. Their children are almost out of the house, like they're pretty self-sufficient. Dawn's not really happy. She has no idea what she wants. She always says that her and her husband make a great team. That drives me up when I hear that phrase. Because let's think about it and let's be really, really honest. This episode is about knowing what you want. So let's start telling the truth. When you are dreaming or envisioning your dream relationship, is it with a teammate? Like, is that really what you want? But I hear this over and over and over daily, almost. Maybe not so much anymore that I keep calling it out, but oh, we're a really good team, or my husband's great, but things are good, but. Or do you dream of being with a partner that you can't wait to get home to and have him wrap his arms around you? Or you can't wait to put his cock in your mouth, have him push you on the bed and go down on you? Yes, like that's, this is not an all day, everyday situation. And I know we like to think in extremes, but if we're really honest, we're not dreaming of the teammate. We're dreaming on someone to take us on dates, take us on trips, have the walk-in closet sex, the shower sex, the kitchen sex, and the sweet, sweet lovemaking too. But I don't know about you, but I really don't desire a teammate. I want a partner and I want passion. So if you want a teammate and that is your deepest fulfilling dream, then go for it. But what I hate to see, and not knowing what you want is the problem that we're talking about. So what I hate to see is women being like, oh, it's great, we're a great team, but that's not what they want. Like, you can hear the deadness in that statement. It's really a lie. Like, we're really lying about our desires and what we really want. So back to Dawn. Her husband isn't lazy or unhelpful. He's fairly present as a father. She knows she should feel lucky for the years they have spent together and the family they've raised, the family they've been pretty successful at blending, aside from a few hiccups. But if you're like me and you have a blended family, then y'all know it doesn't always blend smooth. Dawn's grateful, but she also finds herself unable to ignore the overwhelming feeling that something is missing, and she doesn't know what. She doesn't know if she should leave. She's like, is it the relationship that's the problem? Have they fallen out of love? Can they get that spark back? She doesn't know if she wants to quit her job and do her own thing and freelance. She doesn't want to give up her, pension and all of her benefits. She doesn't know if she regrets her life. She doesn't know, like, it's almost a blur for how long she's been going through the motions and feeling this disconnected. She doesn't even know what she wants for dinner. The things that used to make her happy don't anymore. She's been taught that the best way to be a wife, a mother, and an employee is to do what you're supposed to do. Don't ask for anything. Her mother and her grandmother modeled this. What would people think? They would often say. Her mother and her grandmother would constantly be worrying about the needs, predicting the needs of those around them, but no one would do the same for them. For Dawn, this meant staying quiet when she wanted to speak up. This meant swallowing her emotions so she doesn't inconvenience or annoy anyone with her feelings. She didn't see her mom have feelings, so hers felt like way too much. And when she went to her mom with her feelings, she was treated like her feelings were too much. So Dawn's desires were buried so deep, they don't come into her awareness anymore. She's lost touch with them altogether. In fact, she feels repulsed by her wants. She feels like she's not worthy of asking her husband to spend time with her, or like she doesn't want to annoy her kids to try and get them to be home for holidays or have a family game night. So she tries to keep them all happy, often ends up buying them a lot of things. And in trying to keep everyone happy, she usually ends up irritating a lot of them anyway. If she gets really honest with herself, sex is okay. She has it about once a week because she thinks she should, because she thinks it's her duty as a wife and a partner to keep her man happy. But sex, like much of the rest of her life, like it's numb. She's pretty numb. There's not a lot of sensation, passion there because, like my coach says, the way we do one thing is the way that we do everything. And this isn't Dawn's fault because she doesn't know what she wants. From a little girl, she was taught to turn away from her own internal knowing, her pink canary, as we call it in the Pleasure Collective community. I remember her telling me this example. She went out one day a few years ago and bought herself some new boots. They were black leather, designer, not her usual style. And her kids were immediately making fun of her when she got home. She put them away, buried them in the back of the closet, thought about throwing them out. And it was the last time she could pinpoint doing something 100% for herself. And after she did it, she immediately felt like it was the wrong decision. And it stands out because it was such a big deal to spend the time, the money, picking out something that made her happy and felt a little extravagant, and to actually follow through, like not just put it in her cart online, but to actually follow through. And she had never worn the boots. She told me that they were still probably in her closet until recently, until we started working together. So Dawn was sacrificing her needs, pretending she didn't have desires, anticipating the needs of others, thinking that pleasing everyone else is what she was supposed to do. But for some reason, she could never figure out why she wasn't happy. And I mean, I've said this so many ways, but I'm saying this so many ways so that I hope it sinks in. And it's always so much easier, right? It sounds pretty easy from the outside looking in, listening to this, but I guarantee you, if you are listening to this podcast, you also don't know what you want, what you really want. If you are not happy, if you don't wake up energetic, turned on, alive, ready to take on your day. I'm not talking every day, right? We have our moments, but if that's not really your natural state most of the time, you don't know what you want. There's something missing. You are not in touch with your desires. There's room for growth here. Dawn heard me on the news and reached out. She said, "Your message spoke to me, and I think there's something wrong with my hormones." I told her, maybe, but I think it's much bigger than that. I think it's your hormones and feminine burnout. Because when you're disconnected from your desires, it affects you in 3 ways. Physically. So Dawn was gaining weight that was difficult to take off for the first time in her life, difficulty sleeping through the night, waking up sweaty, needing to change her sheets or pajamas. She'd have an afternoon crash in her energy. Her hair wasn't as thick and as shiny as it used to be. She had changes to her periods, and we already mentioned that the sex stuff was a ho-hum, numb, go through the motions situation. So there was no turn on aliveness, desire there. Being disconnected from your desires can also affect your mental health. Oftentimes, you will think, I'm depressed or anxious, or it's my anxiety, it's my depression, because maybe we've already been diagnosed. And we're usually like high functioning. It's functional depression and anxiety. So we're looking like we have it together on the outside, but if anyone could hear our thoughts on the inside, they would tell us how much we need help. And the third way not knowing our desires can affect us is our emotions. We start to feel disconnected, alone, unfulfilled, and really having like just so lonely. And we know that loneliness is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day for health outcomes. Think about that one. Loneliness is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. There is not a superwoman that I speak to that does not feel alone in most aspects of her life. So this is a big problem. It is a health problem. And we might think that it's okay, I'm just getting through it. But being lonely, not feeling joy, fulfilled, happy, it's literally affecting our health, our physical, mental, emotional well-being. Research proven. And obviously you could think that smoking cigarettes is not healthy. We know this. So neither is being lonely and feeling this way. So now Dawn wears the boots everywhere. She gets compliments even from her kids. Why? Because she knows what she wants, and she knows how to stand in that power of her desire and her turn on. She's learned to tune into what makes her happy, and she's going to experience that joy for herself. And when you do, you radiate it from inside out, and people want to be around you. They want to invite you places. You don't repel them with your unfulfilled energy. Dawn became the woman who was excited about her desires. She can communicate them in ways that make it easy for people to give to her, easy for people to support her, easy for her to enroll them in her mission. If it is cleaning the dishwasher, it's not a fight anymore. If it is wanting to move or renovate your house, like whatever the problem is, people are excited to give Dawn what she wants. She feels like sunshine now. So people are lining up to be close to her, to feel her warmth, to help fulfill her needs. She has energy. The weight is coming off easily. She moves differently. She loves differently. She asks differently. She fucks differently. She needed to do a multitude of things to fix this problem that had to do with both her health and her mindset. So after we chatted that first day, she decided that she needed to join the Feminine Burnout Recovery Program. She made changes to her nutrition to support her eating for her body and the state of stress that it was under. We helped put some boundaries in place and helped change her sleeping patterns. We optimized nutrients and hormone status. And most importantly, and this is what makes things stick, this is what makes it work, we did the mindset work with her in one-on-one and group coaching. We did desire work, figured out how she could ask for her needs to be met in a way that felt aligned. We taught her to come from the feminine, because what worked at work in her, high-powered office job is not what works in intimate relationships when we're asking for our needs to be met. We worked on her communicating, on her telling her truth without apology, without shame. We taught her how to relax, enjoy without guilt in and out of the bedroom. Losing connection to our desires is another common trait of women with feminine burnout. Because of the history, because we have been taught to exist, to shrink ourselves, to not have needs, to not be the smartest, most attractive person in the room, to not attract that energy, because we're more concerned with making everyone else happy before we even check in to see, do I have the bandwidth to help this person or solve this problem for them? Do they even want me to? We're in fix-it mode. We're in doing mode, exhausting ourselves, draining ourselves. Years of this outward focus, the focus of caring for others, of over giving, and not knowing what we want, what turns us on, what makes us feel alive, it will wear you down. It probably already has. You're seeing the physical signs, you're seeing the mental signs, you're seeing the emotional signs. It doesn't matter how selfless you are, how much joy you think you get from helping others. We still need to balance giving and receiving. We still need to know how to take care of you. Those check-ins, those what do I need? What is going to make me feel joy, make me feel relaxed in this moment? And eventually, if you don't learn these skills, you will feel like Dawn did when she got on that first call with me. Lost, disconnected, frustrated because she had spent the time and the money and done the work, but she was floating through life with no purpose. Nothing seemed to be sticking. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for her. I don't want that for the next generation, for our daughters and our sons. I want you instead to figure out what you want, what turns you on, what makes you feel alive. Feel worth having others help you get it. And I know how to break this cycle, break this pattern, because I have studied, watched, written books, written articles, and helped so many women through this process already. In fact, I have had feminine burnout more times than I would like to admit in this lifetime. If you want more, better health, more wealth, better sex, and more connected relationships, I can help you like I have helped thousands of women globally. If you want to find out if the Feminine Burnout Recovery Program is for you, and let's face it, you're listening to this knowing, you want to work with me, that every word in this podcast spoke to you. But to find out more, to be really, really sure if the Feminine Burnout Recovery Program is for you, visit www.thepleasurecollective.com/feminine burnout recovery. This program is not for you if you are not ready for your life to change. If you are ready to start having what you say you want, book a call. Let's get started. If you want to do the work, invest the time, money, and energy to do what it takes to heal feminine burnout, let's get started. Have a great week, everybody.
If you like what you heard in this episode, leave me a rating. Your support helps me get discovered by more women like you. Together, we can change the conversation around women's sexual health and pleasure for you, your partners, and generations to come.